Hey guys, I'm out here today taking a look at all the sauropods that we've had in the line so far and comparing them. I've only bought one of each species though, so even though we've had about 3 or 4 different Brachiosaurus releases, I've only bought the Hammond Collection one because that's the best one. The Legacy Collection one has been released 2 or 3 times now with slight recolours, and it's not a bad mould, but the Hammond Collection one is so much better. So I bought that one out to compare with all the others, which will make it a bit of an unfair comparison because that's obviously going to be the best one with the sculpt and the articulation and everything. I do like that so far they've kept them all different colours, so they stand out from each other. You've got the grey Brachiosaurus, the Apatosaurus, which is more of a green colour, Dreadnoughtus, mainly blue. The Mamenchisaurus is kind of a darker grey, so even though it's quite similar to the Brachiosaurus, especially the Legacy Collection Brachiosaurus, it's quite a bit darker than the Hammond Collection Brachiosaurus. So it still stands out as looking unique. And then the Diplodocus here, which is sort of an orangey brown colour. So for the Brachiosaurus here, the neck goes up and down, but it's really stiff and it goes from side to side. But then there's also like a neck swivel there and the mouth opens, and that's all stuff that's pretty much on these Legacy Collection ones. But it's at the legs here where it's got the knee articulation and the ankle articulation that the Legacy Collection ones don't have. And then there's more articulation in the tail as well, with more like double joints and ball joints along the tail there. Then with the Apatosaurus, see the legs just go forward and backwards, and they don't go forward and backwards that far either, it's pretty limited. But because of the way the legs are sculpted, you can't really get it to stand unless they're in a certain position anyway. But it's still nice to have that articulation there. And the tail swivels from side to side like that. And then most of them have a little swivel kind of halfway down the tail too. Partly that's where the tail connects in there, because a lot of these come in parts in the box. But you can swivel the tail to get slightly different poses there, and the mouth opens, and the head swivels, and that's going to be pretty much the same for all of these, except for the Dreadnoughtus here, because that's got the bigger neck, so that'll go side to side there, as well as up and down, like that. Same with the legs, back and forward, simple as that. Then the tail is pretty much solid, except for the swivel there. The Mamenchisaurus, that might be my favourite. There's something I like about it just being just a classic kind of Diplodocus pose and silhouette, even more than the actual Diplodocus is. This one just looks like a stereotypical kind of Diplodocus looking dinosaur, you know. All pretty much the same. Good range of motion in the neck all the way down to the ground and up. And then finally, the most recent one, the Diplodocus. We've got another one coming this year as well. It's getting crazy storing these things. It'd be kind of good if you could disconnect the tail and the head and the neck after you get them, but once you assemble them, you can't take them apart. But they're really difficult to store once you start getting a lot of these things. I mean, I've got 6 now because I've got 2 Brachiosauruses, the Legacy Collection one and the Hammond Collection. So soon it's going to be 7 when that new one comes out to tie in with the new movie. The tail on this one kind of moves better on the Diplodocus than it does on all the others. Got a really good ball jointed tail there, which is handy because this one I find more than the others has balance issues. It sort of falls backwards a lot because the tail is so long. So having the tail be able to bend downwards like that, you can balance it. But the Diplodocus is the only one I've had balance issues with. The tail is just so long and heavy. Dreadnoughtus is the longest of the 3, even though the Diplodocus has a really long tail. Dreadnoughtus is just massive with that long neck. The Apatosaurus kind of looks the smallest. Even the Brachiosaurus has a smaller tail, it's got a bigger body, so altogether the Apatosaurus seems like the smallest. Like I say, it's kind of an unfair comparison with the Hammond Collection one because that's got gorgeous sculpting and paint. Sculpting's a bit softer on all these others, but still pretty nice, and a bit more of a simplistic paint job on the others too. They tend to have a more minimal paint job, but still looking good. I mean, they haven't skimped on them. I kind of find the Diplodocus to be the cheapest looking one when it comes to the paint apps. Seems to be less shading on it, even though there actually is quite a lot of brown speckling, but it doesn't show up so much, so it looks more like it's mostly one solid colour than the others do. But it's got nice paintwork around the head and the neck more than the body. Mamenchisaurus, Dreadnoughtus, Apatosaurus, and the Brachio. Diplodocus is the only one to have these spines going down the neck and the body, which really helps it to stand out from the others, especially the Mamenchisaurus, because Diplodocus and Mamenchisaurus aren't that massively different looking. So the spines on the Diplodocus help to make it look a bit more unique. The Diplodocus has kind of got a smaller body than the Apatosaurus, but because the tail is so long, it makes up the size and just makes it seem a bit bigger. Actually, when you look at them from this angle, that newest one, the Diplodocus, is getting a bit smaller. I don't know if that's just to make it more accurate size-wise to the others, or if that's to make it a bit cheaper to produce while still selling it for the same price as the others. Because if you compare the Diplodocus to the Dreadnoughtus from a few years ago, like, it's quite a big difference in the size. It's really hard for me to rank these, but the Apatosaurus is my least favourite. Not that I don't like it or anything, but I find the paint job on this the least visually interesting, this kind of darkish green colour. And the articulation's a little bit more minimal on this than the others. So that just about puts it at the bottom 5. But it's still a great toy. Just because it's at the bottom of my ranking of the 5 doesn't mean I don't like it. Number 4 was actually a really hard one because it was kind of a toss-up between this and the Diplodocus. But I've just got nostalgia for Diplodocus because it's Diplodocus. It's kind of the first of the Sauropods that most of us learn about when we were a kid. I guess maybe Brachiosaurus has now become number 1 because of Jurassic Park. But when I was a kid, it was always Diplodocus or Diplodocus was the one we heard about, so I'm a bit nostalgic about that. So that puts this one at number 4, which is kind of a shame because it's such an awesome toy just for the sheer size of it. I mean, this thing's massive. Probably doesn't help that I didn't really like Dominion, and this is from Dominion, so that might have something to do with it. This one hasn't got any articulation where the head connects to the neck, so that's kind of a minus, though I do like that it's got the double joint from side to side and up and down, lower down the neck here. So once again, just because it's number 4 doesn't mean it's bad, and I do still like it. So number 3 is the Diplodocus. I was actually a little bit disappointed with this when I got it because the main bulk of the body does look mostly one colour, which gives it a little bit of a cheap look to it to me. It just didn't seem like it had the paint apps, even though when you really look at it, it does have quite a lot of detailing with little brown speckles and things, and especially as you go up the head. I really like the head sculpt. I kind of like the spines along the back. It's just a bit of a novelty because none of the others have that. And because, like I say, I'm a bit nostalgic for Diplodocus in general, so that makes me like this one a little bit more than the Dreadnoughtus. But it was kind of a toss-up between those two, really, for the 3rd and 4th spot. But yeah, this is my number 3 favourite. It's also kind of annoying with this that it doesn't balance as well as the others. The tail being so long just makes it sometimes fall backwards, and is generally kind of annoying how long that tail is because I'm constantly catching it on things when I try and move this anywhere. It's like knocks on everything and knocks things over. So there are little annoyances with this, but it's still pretty nice. Now, at number 2 is the Brachiosaurus, and really when it comes to quality, this is the best of the 5 that I've showed you because it's a Hammond Collection one, not a Legacy Collection, so there's a lot more articulation, sculpting's better, it's got the glass eye in the top. This is just a generally awesome dinosaur toy. Really great quality, and like it's got this real feel rubber neck with different joints all the way up it, so you've got more articulation in the neck there. So in terms of the quality of the toy, this is number 1. But in terms of just my favourite personally, Brachiosaurus isn't quite there. I mean, I love Brachiosaurus, especially ever since that first Jurassic Park film that made it famous. You know, it's an iconic dinosaur in the line now, so you can't not like Brachiosaurus. And then there's that heartbreaking moment in Fallen Kingdom as well, where you see it dying as the ash from the volcano envelops it. Oh man. So yeah, gotta love the Brachiosaurus, and this is an awesome Brachiosaurus toy. And my personal number one is the Mamenchisaurus. I just love the silhouette of it. You know, it's typical sauropod silhouette. How I'd always imagine one if I was a kid. This is how you imagined like Diplodocus or whatever to look like, even though this isn't the Diplodocus. I also like it being grey, even though it might seem a bit boring compared to some of the colours of the others. You know, the Dreadnoughtus is that really nice blue and yellow, but kind of a grey-brown colour just seems more natural, even though we have no idea what they actually would have looked like. I imagine that being the most realistic colour scheme for one, a bit like elephants and rhinos. So I actually like that this is just brown and grey. It's got a really nice face sculpt as well. It's just kind of the perfect sauropod to me. So this is my personal number one, and it's the one that I find myself drawn to the most when I'm looking at them on the shelf. I just love how this looks. If I was only going to have one sauropod out on display, it would be this one. Probably, I don't know, the Hammond Collection one. Just because if this was Hammond Collection, I think this would probably beat the Brachiosaurus. But the Brachiosaurus is iconic, isn't it? A bit more than Mamenchisaurus. I mean, most people probably haven't even heard of Mamenchisaurus, I guess. But, you know, it's just my personal favourite. I never thought that we'd even get a Brachiosaurus, let alone this many sauropods. I thought it would be too big and expensive for Mattel and they wouldn't be able to sell enough of them. Yet here we are, like 7 or 8 years later. We've had pretty much one a year. If you include the multiple Brachiosauruses, that's going to be 8 different sauropods that we've got once the new one comes out this summer. But thanks for joining me for this look and ranking of the sauropods that we've had from Mattel so far. Let me know your top 5, which is your favourite. Do you agree with me? You know, do you like the Brachiosaurus best just because it's so iconic in the franchise and because it's Hammond Collection? Or is one of the little bit more obscure ones your favourite? Comment below, let me know. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you again soon.